Imagine a silent room filled with the weight of grief. Friends and family gathered, mourning the loss of a loved one. Flowers surround a closed casket, and the air is thick with sorrow. But suddenly, the unthinkable happens. Faint thumping sounds emerge. The casket begins to tremble. All eyes turn toward it in shock. And then the deceased wakes up. What was meant to be a farewell turns into chaos and confusion. How can someone declared dead still be alive? Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single detail. Share this video with your friends who love jaw-dropping stories. Have you ever imagined something like this happening to someone you know? Let us know in the comments. This story began in a small town where Marcos, an ordinary 42-year-old man, lived a peaceful life. Known for his good humor and robust health, he rarely got sick. But one seemingly normal day, everything changed. While at work, Marcos felt a sharp pain in his chest. At first, he thought it was nothing serious, but the pain quickly spread to his arms, neck, and back. Alarmed, he decided to head to the nearest hospital. On the way, the pain became unbearable, and he began to sweat profusely. As soon as he arrived at the hospital reception, he collapsed. The medical team rushed to stabilize him, but after several minutes of effort, the doctor declared him dead from a sudden cardiac arrest. The news devastated his family. Marcos's death was unexpected, and no one could comprehend how such a thing could happen. His relatives immediately began preparing for the funeral. The body was released, placed in a sealed casket, and the ceremony was scheduled for the following day. The funeral hall was packed with people. Friends and family gathered to say their final goodbyes. The atmosphere was somber, with tears and whispered condolences filling the room. But what was supposed to be a moment of closure turned into one of the most unbelievable events anyone there had ever experienced. Midway through the ceremony, something strange happened. At first, it was a faint noise, almost imperceptible. Some thought it was just the wind or a random sound in the room. But then the noise became clearer. It was a knocking sound coming from inside the casket. People began exchanging nervous glances. "It's impossible," someone murmured. But the knocking continued, growing louder. Marcos's cousin, overcome by curiosity and desperation, approached the casket and placed his ear against the lid. He heard another knock, unmistakable this time. "There's someone inside," he shouted. Chaos erupted. Some screamed, others ran, while a braver group decided to open the casket. When they finally lifted the lid, what they saw was beyond belief. Marcos was alive. He was breathing heavily, sweating and wide-eyed, like someone waking up from a nightmare. The room was filled with cries of relief, shock, and disbelief. Some wept with joy, while others fainted. Marcos, however, was completely disoriented. "What's happening?" he asked in a hoarse voice. He had no idea where he was or how he ended up there. His family, still in shock, rushed him back to the hospital. The doctors were stunned. They reviewed the previous day's tests and couldn't find an explanation. There were no vital signs, they confirmed. He was clinically dead. A diagnosis of catalepsy was suggested, a rare condition where the body enters an extreme state of dormancy, mimicking death. But this explanation, while plausible, didn't fully satisfy the family. Something more profound seemed to be at play. During his recovery, Marcos began sharing strange experiences he had while dead. He described being in a dark yet peaceful place where distant voices called out to him. One voice in particular stood out, repeatedly saying, "It's not your time yet." These accounts only deepen the mystery. Had Marcos experienced a supernatural phenomenon, or were these just the workings of his brain during extreme unconsciousness? The story quickly spread through the town and eventually made its way into local headlines. Journalists and onlookers surrounded the family's home, eager to uncover the truth. While some hailed the event as a miracle, others proposed darker theories. Some believed Marcos had been touched by something beyond human understanding and that his returns had a higher purpose. But Marcos himself didn't know what to think. In the weeks that followed, he began noticing strange changes around him. Things that once felt normal now unsettled him. He felt cold chills in his own home, as though he were being watched. At night, objects seemed to move on their own. Lights flickered without any electrical issues, and he often heard whispers, even when he was alone. These occurrences heightened the sense that something was different. Marcos started avoiding people, afraid his experience might frighten them. He turned to books and even paranormal experts for answers. One investigator visited his home and confirmed an unusual energy in the space. When someone escapes death in such an extraordinary way, the expert explained, it can leave a mark on the world around them. As Marcos grappled with the strange events, he couldn't escape the memories of his funeral. He relived the moment he woke up inside the casket, the panic of realizing where he was, and the overwhelming sense that something had pulled him back. He began to wonder, what if it wasn't just a medical error? The scientific community took interest. Researchers studied Marcos's case as an example of near-death experiences. Some believed his brain had entered a state of low activity, simulating death without fully shutting down. Others suggested he had glimpsed something beyond the physical world, a peek into another dimension. But Marcos wasn't looking for scientific answers. He wanted peace. He tried to resume his life, but the experience haunted him. Some days he felt grateful to be alive. On others, he felt as though he'd left something behind, something he couldn't quite grasp. Marcos's story remains one of the most extraordinary mysteries ever told. For some, it's proof that the line between life and death is thinner than we imagine. For others, it's a reminder that the unknown can surprise us in ways that defy logic and reason. What do you think? Was it a miracle, a medical error, or something we may never fully understand? Share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who loves mysteries. Maybe together, we can uncover the truth behind what really happened.